Good morning and welcome to IBN Spotlight. I'm Shantha Mishra. Our guest today is one of India's most accomplished Bharatanatyam performers. Malavika Sarukkai is acclaimed for her innovative choreography, her almost sculpted purity of line, and the breath of freshness she brings into her dance. She's here with us in our studio in the midst of a tour of North America under the auspices of the Asia Society. Namaskar, Malavika, and welcome to our studios. You made an impression when you first performed here in 1985 for the Festival of India, and you were recently featured in the PBS production. You have been described as a dancer's dancer, and when I saw you perform for the first time some 9 years ago, those were my exact sentiments. Besides hard work, what are the other ingredients that contribute towards reaching this level of performance?
Well, hard work is only part of it, because I think to be a dancer, one has to actually change one's lifestyle. And I think this happens when you live with it very closely. It's something that you have to internalize, and you have to dance, and you cannot be two separate entities. You know, it has to become something like breathing.
It's part of your life.
It's part of your life. It's the way you move. It's the way you think. You know, everything around you has to be connected with dance. And I think for that you really have to live very closely with it. And then it might happen that you become a dancer.
Even then it might
Yes,
happen.
I think there's always this question of the big if. Because it really is something very, it's sacred, it's something which has great dignity, and with something to which you have to give yourself to. Also, I think what helps, and I've been very lucky in this respect, is that I've had my mother who's very closely associated with my dance life, career, and she's always been there to support me through the ups and downs, and also downs.
Oh, surely. That's a time when you really need
somebody. You need someone
yes,
who's close to you, whom you can depend on, whom you can ask for support.
That's very, very true. In your choreography, which is innovative and yet never straying from the parameters laid down in the Natya Shastra, there is a remarkable element of handling of space, which is evident even to a lay person. This is not just training or technique. It goes beyond that. Would you share with us some of your thoughts on the concept of space in dance?
I think space for me is something very special. It is something which has to be filled, something which has to be energized. And I think my dance has not consciously grown with this feeling, but this feeling has, I think, always rested in me. So it really has been much more of a spontaneous creation, because I never had great formulas which I practiced or shastras which I read. I create, and then it happens to fall into certain patterns.
Quite unconsciously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, Bharatanatyam is really working with the outer space, stage space, in pure dance, and in Abhinaya, I think it is working with inner space. And that's my thinking, my belief, and that's what I work with and create in. And for me, energy, life breath,
prana.
That prana is very important. And I think in my choreography, I keep that very much in mind. Because dance is not dance if you don't feel the flow of energy.
Definitely not.
You know, it becomes very static. It's just there, but it doesn't live. Gestures cannot be gestures and just symbols, but they need life.
They need to breathe.
They need to breathe, they need to live, and it is, for example, if I was to say flower, and you say the Alapadma Hasta, you say flower. But unless you feel the flower, you feel the fragrance, you feel it blossoming, Absolutely. You feel it in your body, in your spirit. Then I think it takes on another.
And it becomes a flower right there on stage. And there are
You
people
have
who
to
said,
become the flower.
sure,
So you need a sensitivity. Dancer needs sensitivity, personal interpretation
definitely.
to make it happen. And this really requires a lot of emotional giving.
And we are now in the dawn of the third millennium, and dance flows like a river all through history and through changing times. Do you feel that there is a need to imbibe and reflect some of the contemporary sensibilities more than is happening right now?
Well, I don't think I approach it in that way at all, because I think dance speaks of emotion. And I think these emotions, it's a question of how do you put these emotions across? And do you have enough honesty and do you have enough integrity to put it across truthfully? Because I think if you are imitating emotions,
And not
then I
feeling
think
it.
then it
yeah.
doesn't, it just seems something very archaic. You see, it seems like it's something out of the past.
Sure.
But if it has the belief, the conviction, the feeling of it as emotion, then you see symbols are just an access point into emotions.
Sure.
So in Bharatanatyam, if I speak, and I will be doing padams, speaking
Yes.
of man-woman relationships, I think this is as universal as one can get. And it doesn't
Sure.
matter if I'm dancing in India or Europe or America or wherever.
Emotions are the same everywhere.
And it works because I have been performing extensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that these emotions, you make the bridge.
And you reach out to your
You reach
audiences.
out and the audiences do understand. I mean, and they do follow, they come along. And then, as I said, this is the wonder of the style.
Mm-hmm.
That we have a very stylized technique, we have grammar, we have everything which seems to codify. But we also, at the same moment, all the freedom.
There is a very definite school of thought that goes in that direction.
Well, I mean, then they would do that, and I
Yes,
would
and
do
you will continue to do your conventional bit
with
and
my
give it great beauty
tradition.
and fragrance and continue with it. You have almost honed a signature style of your own.
Oh.
Do you feel that in the near future you would want to teach dance or start an institution to pass this tradition down to others?
Well, I already teach dance. I teach dance in Madras. I enjoy teaching because I think at that point you make a very basic connection with your students.
Yes.
And you sort of pass on to them the exhilaration, the magic of
magic of
dancing.
dance,
So
yes.
it's good to be able to speak and dance it for them.
There are lots of promising young students of Indian dance here in America who I'm sure are aspiring to be accomplished dancers someday. Is there anything you would like to say to them?
I would like to say that before they think of becoming accomplished, famous dancers, I would say that they should really look at their approach to it. And I think they should have a lot of humility when you're in the presence of such a magnificent, grand tradition. Because only through humility can you learn. Only through humility will you imbibe. Only through humility will you assimilate. I think they should really concentrate on the sheer feeling for it. And I think give themselves to it. And don't ask for returns for a long time. Because it takes a very long time to become a dancer.
That's so true. That's so true. Malavika, we have no doubt that you will continue to give to this great tradition and keep it going and growing. And we at IBN would like to wish you great successes and lots of creative times. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
That was Malavika Sarukkai, one of the most acclaimed dancers of Bharatanatyam today, who's presently on tour in North America, unleashing her talent and mastery of this ancient traditional dance form. Thank you for joining us on IBN Spotlight. I'm Shantha Misra, wishing you a wonderful week.